in the cobblestone valley of Oakhaven, where the mist clings to the roofs until noon, there lived a man named Elias. Elias was not a wizard, nor a king, but in Oakhaven he was considered the master of the most precious resource of all time. Elias was a clockmaker. But to say he simply made clocks would be like saying the ocean is simply wet. His clocks didn't just tell the hour. They told the mood of the house. He made grandfather clocks that chimed with the sound of ocean waves for old sailors, and pocket watches that hummed a lullaby when their owners were anxious. But Elias had a secret. For 40 years, while he fixed the town's watches and repaired the church tower, he was working on something else, something hidden beneath a velvet cloth in the back of his workshop. He wasn't trying to measure time. He was trying to catch it. You see, Elias had once known a moment of perfect happiness. It wasn't a grand ceremony or a victory. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 40 years ago. He was sitting on a hill with his wife, Sarah. The light was hitting the autumn leaves just right, turning the world into a cathedral of gold and crimson. She had looked at him, laughed at a joke he'd made, and the sun caught her eyes. In that split second, Elias felt a peace so profound it terrified him. He thought, if I could just live in this second forever, I would need nothing else. But, as is the nature of time, the second passed. The sun set, and years later, Sarah passed away, leaving Elias alone in a house full of ticking machines. His grief didn't make him bitter, it made him obsessed. He became convinced that if he could build a machine precise enough, a gear system complex enough, he could create a device that didn't move forward, but held still. He wanted to build a sanctuary for that one golden Tuesday. The device was named the Chronos Anchor. It was a masterpiece of engineering. It wasn't built of iron or steel, but of materials Elias had spent a lifetime gathering. The gears were cut from obsidian glass to reduce friction. The springs were tempered in the coldest mountain waters. The pendulum was weighted with a single, heavy pearl. The townspeople whispered about him. They said Elias had forgotten to live because he was too busy trying to understand life. They'd knock on his door to ask for repairs, and he would answer with oil-stained hands, eyes distracted, looking at something they couldn't see. "It's almost ready," he would mutter to his empty shop. "Just the escapement mechanism. It needs to be lighter than air." He stopped eating regular meals. He stopped sleeping in his bed, napping instead in his chair, waking up to the chime of 100 clocks, only to get straight back to work. He was chasing a ghost through the machinery. On the eve of his 75th birthday, it was finished. The storm outside battered the windows, but inside, the air was still. The Chronos Anchor sat on his workbench. It didn't look like a clock anymore. It looked like a frozen star. Elias's hands shook as he wound the key. Click, click, click. He whispered the date. October 14th, the Golden Hill. He released the brake. At first, nothing happened. Then, a low hum filled the room, vibrating in his chest. The gears began to spin, not with a tick-tock, but with a fluid, silent rush. The room began to blur. The dust motes in the air stopped dancing. The rain hitting the window pane froze in place, looking like diamonds suspended in the dark. Elias gasped. The walls of his workshop dissolved. The smell of oil and old wood was replaced by the scent of dry leaves and crisp autumn air. The darkness faded into blinding gold. He was there. He was back on the hill. "Sarah," he whispered. She was sitting right in front of him. The light was perfect. Her smile was exactly as he remembered. The blue dress was suspended in the breeze. Elias reached out to touch her hand. It was warm, but it was hard, unyielding. He looked around. A bird was frozen in the sky, its wings locked in a downward beat. The grass, usually swaying and whispering, was rigid. "Sarah, look at me," he begged. But she couldn't. She was trapped in the perfection he had created. Elias sat there for what felt like an eternity. He had everything he wanted. The perfect moment, but without the movement of time, without the sun setting, without her breath rising and falling, without the next second where she would blink and turn away. It wasn't life. It was a painting. It was a tomb. He realized then the terrible truth of his life's work. The beauty of that Tuesday wasn't that it lasted forever. The beauty was that it ended. That moment was precious, specifically because it was fleeing. By catching it, he had killed it. With a heavy heart, Elias reached into the mechanism of the memory. He found the Chronos Anchor spinning silently in the air between them. "I love you," he whispered to the frozen image of his wife. "And because I love you, I have to let you go." He jammed his thumb into the obsidian gear. Crack! The world shattered. The golden light fractured into 1,000 pieces. The workshop rushed back into existence. The rain slammed against the window. The dust motes began to dance again, and the 100 clocks on the wall, which had held their breath, all exhaled at once. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Time moved forward. Elias never fixed the anchor. He hung the broken gears in his window as a wind chime. He spent his remaining years differently. He didn't stay in the workshop. He sat on his porch. He watched the sunrise, and he watched it set. He watched the seasons change, turning green to gold, to white to green again. He learned that you cannot hold time in your hands like water. You can only stand in the rain and let it wash over you. And that, Elias found, was enough.